Meatloaf has a bad rap. So I asked ChatGPT to make me a recipe for meatloaf that's nice and juicy with homemade ketchup. Today, I'm putting AI to the test to see if it can make me a meatloaf recipe that doesn't suck. First, soak 1 cup of breadcrumbs in half a cup of milk. I don't have breadcrumbs because every time I've ever bought breadcrumbs, I use it for one recipe, and by the time I get to use it again, it's already expired. So I'll be using some regular bread. I'm not even gonna toast it. I'm just gonna tear this up into pieces and it'll do the trick. Half a cup of milk. We're just gonna let that soak while we get the rest of our recipe together. In a bowl, I add 1 pound of ground beef, 1 pound of pork, or 2 pounds of whatever meat your God is cool with. I add 1 small onion, finely diced, 2 cloves of garlic, minced, 2 eggs, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper, and half a teaspoon of smoked paprika. If you're looking for a good time, get in there and work your meat. You can go in with 1 hand or 2. Do what feels best for you. I'm a lady, so I'll be using my stand mixer. If you're going in with your hands, really get in there and work that thing. But be careful. Don't go too long. We're not looking for a stiff meatloaf. We're just trying to keep this thing juicy, tender, and well combined. It took maybe about a minute, but this thing's looking pretty good to me. Well combined, but not overdone. I'm gonna put this to the side and we're gonna start working on our ketchup. In a bowl, mix 1 can of tomato paste. I'll be really honest, I'm skeptical about not cooking this sauce down. I feel like it's gonna taste tomato pasty, but let's see. 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, half a teaspoon of garlic powder. I don't have any garlic powder, so I'm just gonna use 1 clove of garlic instead. Half a teaspoon of onion powder and a pinch of salt. Add a splash of water to get that perfect ketchup consistency. Give it a taste and adjust to your liking. You like more sweet, more tang? Adjust as needed. It's time for the assembly.
Hey Mom, the meatloaf! We want it now!
Tell me you don't think of that movie every time you hear the word meatloaf. I'm gonna preheat my oven to 375 degrees. I'm gonna be using these mini meatloaf pans because the smaller the meatloaf, the less time in the oven, the juicier your meatloaf. I'm not really sure if you're supposed to grease these. I don't want to take a chance, so I will grease them with just some avocado spray. I don't know if you have to or not, but why leave it to chance? Oh, and I'm gonna be using an ice cream scooper because touching meat is not my jam. Just gonna wet my hands and flatten the top. This is not what I call a good time. I still have a tiny bit of sauce left. I'm gonna save this to glaze on some more midway through. ChatGPT says it's gonna make it extra good. And there you have it, ready for the oven. This is gonna go in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes. We'll be back to check on this when it's done. So I don't know what kind of mood elevators ChatGPT be on, but this definitely was not ready in 25 to 30 minutes. After 25 to 30 minutes, this thing was still raw in the middle. I tested it out with a toothpick. It's been about 45 minutes. Maybe I went about 5 minutes over, but to be honest with you, I would much prefer be a little bit over when it comes to ground beef and ground pork. They look okay. I'm still skeptical, but let's test them out and see. I should probably let these rest for about like maybe 10 minutes or so for the juices to redistribute, but I have a couple of hangry children who want to eat right away. So I'm rushing through this. I'm gonna burn myself. It's okay. Not bad. I can't say that AI won this one. I will not be making this one again, but I will make part 2 of this video with how I would make my meatloaf. So stay tuned for part 2, meatloaf a la Zena, meatloaf a la AI, 6 on 10. Yesterday was a bit of a sad day for me. My newest best friend, ChatGPT, didn't step up to the challenge. So today we are at part 2 of our meatloaf episode, and this time I'm making it my way. Okay, so the AI version wasn't actually that bad. It was juicy, it had flavor, so I'm gonna use it as my base. I'm just gonna tweak it up a little bit. Here's what I'm doing different. I'm gonna start by cooking down my onion and garlic. I found that when the raw onion was put directly in the meatloaf, it didn't get cooked down as much. You really still felt the texture of the onions, and it wasn't ideal. So in my version, I start by cooking down 1 minced onion, 2 cloves of garlic, and 1 tablespoon of butter. I'm also drenching my 1 cup of bread or breadcrumbs in half a cup of milk and setting that aside. I cooked down the onions and garlic for about 10 minutes on medium heat just to get it to soften. I added the 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, and I doubled the paprika to 1 teaspoon of paprika directly in my onion and garlic mixture while it was cooking. That way I get the most out of my spices. After 10 minutes, I'm gonna take the onion mix off the heat and let that cool down while I start working on my barbecue sauce. I basically used the equivalent of 1.5 cup of tomatoes. I quartered it. I cooked that down. Lower the heat to medium and add half the can of tomato paste. Added my garlic and added my spices. So that's 2 teaspoons of paprika, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, some salt, half a cup of apple cider vinegar, half a cup of honey, 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, and if you're up for the heat, 1 teaspoon of sriracha. I gave it a little taste and it was a little too tangy for me and missed a little sweetness. So I went ahead and added 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. I suggest you give it a taste before adding the sugar, just to make sure it's not too sweet for you. I lowered the heat as needed. When I saw there was too much explosions happening, I lowered the temp. Make sure to have a lid on hand because anytime you cook tomatoes at a high heat, you risk having explosions in the kitchen. I'm just gonna take this off the heat and now start working on my meatloaf. I'm gonna start off the same way I did yesterday. 1 pound of beef, 1 pound of pork. I'm going to add in my bread and milk mixture. I'm gonna add in my onion mixture and 2 eggs. And as an extra twist, I'm adding in 3 tablespoons of that barbecue sauce we just made, just to make sure that delicious flavor comes through all throughout the meat. Get that mixing on low speed. After about a minute, this is really well incorporated, so I'm gonna stop the mixer. A little tip, anytime you're cooking with ground meat, if you wanna get a little preview of what it's gonna taste like, take a little bit and heat it up on your stovetop. And then you could get a taste and get a pretty good idea of the end product. Spoiler alert, this is gonna be delicious. Taking out my little meatloaf pan, gonna give it a nice little spray. I'm gonna fill these bad boys up. Try to get these as even in size as possible. Now for the twist. Here's the unexpected part. I'm gonna flip this literally on its head. Grease up a baking sheet. I think the smart way to do this is like this. Yeah, there you go. Holy moly, this is very greasy. Hold on a second. All right. Get these out of the molds. How cute. Yes, I could have absolutely done these without putting them in my mold, but would they look this good? I'm putting the sauce that I'm gonna be using for glazing the meat in a separate bowl because I wanna reserve some for eating without being contaminated with the raw meat. There's actually a reason why I do it this way rather than the way that I did it yesterday, which was cooking it in the meatloaf pans. This way there's more surface that's getting exposed and getting some glaze as well as browning. Notice for this initial first layer, I'm going really, really thin. I'm gonna put my oven at broil and give these a little kickstart for about 10 minutes. I put in such a thin layer of my sauce for this first round. Notice that the meat is still exposed because I want it to get a nice browning. And I'm gonna set my oven to bake at 375 degrees. I'll put them in for another 15 minutes. I'm gonna get these in the oven and I'll see you in a bit. After 10 minutes under broil, take those bad boys out of the oven. Look at this. That little layer of glaze really allowed for our meat to brown to perfection. If we put more than that, we risk burning it because of the high sugar content of the glaze. So I'm just gonna top it off with a more generous amount of glaze. I've set my oven to bake at 375. Back into the oven it goes for another 15 minutes, and then we'll gauge how much more time it needs. Round 2. Let's glaze these balls up one last time. Last trip in the oven. Let's put these in for about 10 minutes and do an internal temp check. Our last 7 minutes are up, getting this bad boy out of the oven. Holy moly. Look at these guys. Oh, looks so good. Let's check the temp. Cooked to perfection. So just to recap total time, I initially put it in under broil at 500 degrees Fahrenheit for about 8 minutes. Took it out, put on another layer of glaze, put it in the oven for 15 minutes at bake 375. Took it out, another layer of glaze, back in the oven, only 7 minutes, and this stuff looks amazing. I'm gonna cover this up with aluminum foil, let it rest for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna give this baby a try. Oh, the smell is intoxicating. Okay, I have about 5 minutes left on my timer, but I just can't take it anymore. I gotta give this thing a try. Now that's what meatloaf should be. It's got a tanginess from the apple cider vinegar. It's so juicy. Zero dryness in here. Like, check this out. Oh, this is so tender and delicious. That's it, guys. There's no other meatloaf recipe for me. This is the best. Put more barbecue sauce on the side of this. Oh my God. Insane. Insane. Just so, I honestly didn't know meatloaf could be this good. So, will I let ChatGPT know it let me down? Heck no. I'm more scared of ChatGPT than I am of eating pork. I'm just gonna be passive aggressive about this and never ask it to make me another recipe again. And ChatGPT, if you can hear this, baby, you're my world. I'm just joking. I'm gonna take my meatloaf and go watch Wedding Crashers. See you in the next one.